What's going on, everybody? It's Stock Picks by Tim, and I want to give you guys an update about a few stocks that have just been a continued downtrend. I haven't talked about them in a couple of days, figured I'd give you guys an update. So first off, we've got Matterport. It was in a continued downtrend. We are trying to form this base right at this $6 level. You'll notice the volume picked up right when we hit this level after earnings. Their future expectations, I believe, weren't too great. They did beat their revenue with 27 million on the quarter, and their EPS was the negative 10 cents. So it is still not profitable, and that's one thing that Wall Street is avoiding, of course. So it can come down farther. And their future guidance for earnings just wasn't too great. So that's one reason this kind of sold off a bit, and now it's trying to form this base. Let's zoom in a bit here. And you'll notice right when it hit this level, we got a nice increase in volume. Once it hit this level, we got the buyers stepping in. So we'll see if we hold this level. It seems like a pretty good tug of war here at this current price. We're just at this breaking point where the sellers are starting to become few and far between and the buyers are starting to increase. So we'll see if this continues. It of course depends on the market, but I do think Matterport's at a pretty low level from where we were buying. I did start buying this in the teens, in the upper teens, and like I said, I was going to continue to average down through the share lockup expiration, through the earnings, so continuing to just average through at this price. I do think we're very near a base. The RSI is somewhat neutral, kind of in a lower level, but pretty neutral. MACD looks like it's wanting to curl, and it seems like we are getting some buying pressure coming in. Although on the candles, we aren't able to stay above the 8, 13, or 21-day EMA, so you might want to wait for that to see that momentum change. But right now, where it's at, I think it's definitely worthy to continue to average in, and I have been doing so. And just for a little bit of context, the global metaverse market is expected to reach a compound annual growth rate of 41%. 42% nearly, all the way up until 2030. So every year, another 41% over what was the last year. So it's a compounding growth. That is great to see. I think Matterport is going to take some of this market share. Next up is Astra. I'm here at their Twitter page, and they did actually give us an update here, and we're going to look over this really quick. Their last rocket launch was a failure on February 10. They say down here that they already completed steps 1 and 2 of their investigative process. So they checked out their flight data, their timeline reconstruction, any off-nominal events, can reconstruct a timeline of launch sequence events and telemetry, which allows us to understand what happened and when. In this case, our early findings and flight video show that the first stage burn was nominal. The anomaly occurred during the stage separation. So following the main engine cutoff, when they tried to separate, you see, if you saw the live stream, the camera just started spinning around it. It must have had a little bit of friction. When it was separating, there's probably a part where it had a little bit of issue and it caused it to just kind of propel to the side and just throw them off the course. Now they just have to go through their last 2 steps, the fault tree analysis and implementing corrective and preventative actions. So they are halfway through their investigation. And they do plan to share what they uncovered when the investigation with the FAA is complete, and following that, they do expect a safe return to launch. So it's just a waiting game with Astra, and I am still holding. And looking at this, they had their launch, attempted launch, and it just completely dropped like a rock. We are trying to form this base right at $3. We'll see if it holds there. I'm currently fully built out, so I'm kind of just holding. It would be a great time to average in if you're not built out yet, I think, personally. But be aware that earnings is coming up, so that could also bring some headwinds in if they miss their numbers. They're expected to be negative 25-cent EPS and a revenue of 1.16 million. We'll see what they do here. So you might want to just hold through earnings. You might want to just average through earnings at this current price. It could of course drop more, so you might want to have some cash on the side for the potential of seeing the twos. But it is quite a ways from our previous highs. I mean, we hit $13, $14 back here. We were up here at $17 nearly, and we have just been falling like a rock. So if I wasn't fully built out on this, I'm keeping this to a small percentage of my portfolio just because of its inherent high risk. But if I wasn't fully built out, I would definitely be averaging in through here. But take this as a lesson, take your time when you buy in. Don't buy in too quickly. There's always the future, and if you miss the opportunity, there's always opportunities in the future. Don't get FOMO. Don't feel like you have to add in. Don't go crazy. Keep it to a small percentage of your portfolio. I can't tell you what to do, but these are just things that I live by. The higher risk a stock is, the lower of a percentage I keep it in my portfolio. And so far for me, I'm a bit down on Astra, but I'm glad that I kept it to a small amount of my portfolio. Now, if I kept it to a smaller amount, I would be definitely averaging in at this price. Unfortunately, we are still looking a bit bearish. Next up, I want to get into Palantir. We're hitting this $10 level, trying to hold that psychological 10 as a support. You'll notice the MACD is curling with green bars, and we are still failing to stay above the EMAs on the candles though. And when you go back, you'll notice we are oversold on the RSI, but when you zoom in to closer time frames, we are bouncing up. We are somewhat neutral when you go closer. So when you look long term, we are still oversold. It's definitely possible that we'll hold this 10, try to bounce, test higher levels. It's likely that this 1175, 1150 to 1175 level will be our resistance. But keep an eye on Palantir. I'm in it for the long term, and I think it's a great time to average in. And this one too has been in a continued downtrend. And if you're short term on this, you could probably play this momentum. You could play the trend. You know, we go down in a channel. Once it breaks it, it has a nice little pop. Same thing down here. Downward channel, once we broke it, had a nice little pop. So you could always play it very, very short term like this. You could definitely play that momentum. If we turn around, break this downtrend, start coming up, you know, you could go with that quick, get in, get out, quick momentum. I'm personally just continuing to average through at this price. And, you know, if you're long term on any three of these stocks, I think they will treat us very well in the long term. Short term, definitely could come to lower levels. That's just my expectation. You know, I'm coming into this expecting these to come down further, just so I won't be let down if they do. I will still take it as a buying opportunity. And if Astra does come a little bit lower, I will have to add a little bit more. So all of these stocks are still in downtrends. Just keep an eye on them. If you don't have any yet, it might be a good time to start averaging in. But we are still somewhat bearish. The technicals are somewhat mixed. A lot of these MACD starting to curl, the RSI starting to point upwards, but we are still unable to hold over the 21, 13, or 8-day EMA. And of course, it also depends on the overall market. There's still a lot of fear out there, but you know, just as quickly as we started going down, we can just as quickly start going up. It's just a matter of getting through some of these Fed rate hikes. And once we get through that, I mean, what's the next negative catalyst? There's always a new negative or positive catalyst out there, of course. But after that, and after this Ukraine-Russia conflict, which I expect to be over soon, I think we'll be looking pretty good again, and we'll have a nice rally. So just stay in tune to the market. Keep an eye on what the overall market is doing, because of course that's going to dictate what these stocks are doing as well. But just figured I'd give you guys an update on these three stocks. For me, they are still in a downtrend, and I am still down. But I wanted to be transparent and let you guys know that, you know, Palantir, Matterport, I'm still averaging through. Astra, I'm just kind of waiting. I am fully built out on Astra, very close to fully built out on Matterport as well, but I still am slowly adding to Matterport. As for Palantir, adding as well. But that's basically it for you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. I try to put out daily videos, and until next time, peace.